Hi everyone. The clock has struck. The clock has struck the half an hour mark, so we will get started. My name is Justin Campbell. I'm a solution engineer here at ApprovalMax, and today we're going to go through some of our most recent and coming product releases. So I really appreciate that so many of you have come here today and registered for this webinar. We've got some really exciting things to share with you. So we've broken it into two lots of free for you, free major product updates, and then free convenient product updates, and just improvements and quality of life improvements in the product. But to be honest, they're all pretty significant in their own way. So we'll go through those, and then we're going to end the session with a Q&A session. So first of all, let's launch a poll, and launching it now. Are you currently an ApprovalMax customer? So that should have popped up on your screen now. And okay, we're getting lots and lots of existing ApprovalMax customers on the call, and it looks like uh, all right, we'll let that run just a little bit longer, but looks like about 80, 90% of you are already customers, but we've got 15% who are new. So that's fantastic as well. All right, so still a few more coming in. Don't want to give you all a chance to finalize that. Okay, all right, we'll end that poll now. That's given us a rough idea. Yeah, so we've got those results. So it ended up 86% of you are already using ApprovalMax. So let's start with the major updates. So this is huge. I'm very, very excited about this one. Watches and mentioning. So it's actually two features, but they tie in with each other really importantly. So what you'll probably know is in a lot of apps now, including the Google Suite and many others, you can now at people, go put in the at symbol and at people. And one of the big important values of ApprovalMax is that should capture everything about approval. Should be a single source of truth about why a particular bill or purchase order, credit note, whatever, got approved for whatever reason. And all the chatter around that's extremely important as well. So I'm going to jump out of the slides now, jump into ApprovalMax, and we're going to go to a bill that's requiring approval, requires my decision. Let's hope I've got one here. Okay, so we've got this one here from Basket Case, and in ApprovalMax, you can scroll down the bottom and you've got your comment area. But also at the top, you may have noticed this I that's been added. So you can you can add a watcher. So I might want to add Manuel as a watcher to this one. So what a watcher is someone who can basically see the request. So normally you've got the person who requests it, and then you have approvers. These are the people in your workflow who are approving things. A watcher is someone who has sort of like a read only, a visibility view of it. They can leave comments. So often when you're proving something, you might want to bring someone else in on the discussion. They're not an approver, but you might want them to explain something or put in context. So I'm going to add Manuel as a watcher. Actually, I might remove him here just so I can show you how it would work automatically when you leave a comment. So I can go at Manuel. Do we really need this new signage for the office? And I can send that, and then it will prompt me. So I've already added him, and it will prompt me to add Manuel as a watcher. So if I hit if I hit approve, or I can just come up here and do it. It may have skipped that step because I'd already added him as a watcher, but normally it prompts you automatically when you um, when you've added someone in, and it also records all this here. So if I hit approve, that's all good. So now if Manuel were to log into ApprovalMax, he would be able to go into his bills and be able to see it here, even if he's only got a user access. So that's a way of also giving someone the ability to see a transaction. So it's two different features, the mentioning and the watcher, but the two are very much related and connected. So it's yeah. So what we don't want is any breaks and chains of the communication. We really want to have you use ApprovalMax for everything that relates to approving a bill or purchase order. If you're sending an email or doing something and sending a message to someone in Slack outside of ApprovalMax, then there's things that aren't being captured about that transaction. So by adding these improvements in the communication tools, it means you don't need to leave ApprovalMax. All right, so let's go back and let's now go to our next big update. So we've now got sales quotes and sales invoices approvals. So you can now create both sales quotes and sales invoices inside ApprovalMax. So we've got a question that's okay. I might save those questions a little later. I'll just proceed with the sales with the talk of the sales quotes and sales invoices. Okay, so we'll come back to these questions in the Q&A session. I'll save them for later. All right, so we'll oh, sorry. Yeah, that you got a preview of the next one there. All right, so I'll jump back into ApprovalMax. So now if we go to our approval workflows, we now have the ability to do sales invoices and quotes. Now, some of you might be saying, oh, you could do sales invoices before, but you could, but they had to be created in Xero. Where now you can create them in ApprovalMax, which means that someone doesn't need access to Xero to be able to raise a sales invoice. So you can have scenarios where a bill gets prepared for the customer, but you may want to have someone more senior review that before it actually gets sent off to the customer. And, coming from an accounting background myself, like generally speaking, a bill would need to be the WIP on a job would need to be reviewed before being sent to a client. So there's lots of circumstances with that where you want a quote or a sales invoice to be reviewed before it gets sent out. But today we're going to do quotes. So we'll do a demo of the quotes. So we've got in here with the quotes, you need to create it in ApprovalMax. And then you've got your requester matrix, so you can limit what people can do. Are they allowed to add new contacts? You can give them a range of accounts they can pick from. So if you've got sales staff, it's probably a good idea just to limit them to the accounts that they'll be picking from, and the brand, lock down this a little bit more rather than giving them the full selection of options. But let's go and create one now. So we'll go in and we'll go up to our quote area, and we'll choose the customer. So we'll go Bayside Club. We'll put in an expiry date for this quote, so it's valid till the end of the month. We'll put in a quote number, put in a reference, and we can choose our branding theme as well. So if you've created different branding themes in Xero, you can pick between those here as well. We can now put a note for the approver. So this doesn't get sent to the customer, this just gets sent to the approver. And we can select our items from Xero. So all of this gets pulled through as well. I'm going to put the region as North, and I can put in terms in here. I can also attach files as well. Now, I can also tick to automatically send the quote to the customer. So I'm doing all of that as well. And in the settings area of the workflow, you can set up these templated. Now, there's two areas where you can attach files. This area here is for this area here is for internal use. So and this one here gets sent to the customer. So and then we'll go quote for golf balls. We'll go submit. All right, now that's been sent through to me. So I'm taking off my my requester hat, putting my approver hat on, and so it's come through to me as approver. I can review all the details here as well as the email that's getting sent to the customer. I can hit approve. And now that's been sent. That was the only approval step that I needed, and I can do all the mentioning and the watch list and everything we discussed before. So that works on the revenue side as well, not just for bills. And I'll now just pause, go into my email. All right, so I'll resume. Now this email is what gets sent to the customer. So it comes through. Oh no, sorry, that's not the right one. That was the approval, sorry. I'll go, I should have here we go. Sorry, I showed you the wrong email. Okay, so this gets sent to the quote gets sent through. They've got the PDF that gets sent through. But ideally, what you want to encourage them to do is click on this here, this link here, because that'll open it up. And we've got like a little quote portal here. So they can review the quote here. They can put in their details, basically sign off on it. Max, I'm happy to proceed. And then we can accept or decline the quote. And that'll then, if we go back to ApprovalMax and go to our quotes area, we've got all the different categories. So we can see in the quotes here that we can see that it's been accepted. We also have the option to resend here, by the way. And just like everything else in ApprovalMax, there's also an audit report about who prepares the quote. Now, in most businesses, quotes are kind of binding, so I can totally see why you want frontline staff to prepare quotes so you're getting them out quickly and you're not losing out on revenue. But you might want to have them be reviewed before they leave the door, leave the door of your business. And I think this is a really powerful feature for some businesses. So I'm really excited about that one. And look, I won't go through the whole sales invoice thing here, but the key thing to know is we now have the form for the sales invoices as well. And so you don't have to go into Xero and create them, where that kind of limited its usefulness before. All right, so that's that, and I'll just check if there's any questions I can if there's any. Okay, so yeah, there's a quick question here. New customer contacts created in ApprovalMax will be created in Xero automatically. Yes, they will, but you can also choose whether or not people are allowed to create new contacts. So generally speaking, you shouldn't allow most staff members just to create new contacts willy-nilly. And instead, what you want to do is get them to use the contact creation feature in here. So we've got we get them to fill that out. So it has to get approved before it then gets added to your Xero file. So that way you've got more of an audit trail on approving it. So about the mentioning it, um, about the mentioning it, there was a question about would Manuel have been notified. So absolutely, he'd be notified. He'd get a notification in the app and everything. So that definitely comes through. So there's a question, we send quotes through Xero. How different is it from sending it from ApprovalMax? Look, it's very similar. It's very similar, but now you have the option. Now it like most the features are very similar, but the difference is if you do it from for ApprovalMax, you can set up an approval process for approving the quote, which you can't do in Xero. And that's a very, I think that's a very important thing. Okay, all right. So there's quite a few questions piling up here, but I better keep going, otherwise we're going to fall behind in our webinar because there's a few other big announcements to get through. Okay, so this is a really big one. So if you do accrual reporting and you're using ApprovalMax, what do you do if you've got bills that are still going through the approval process, but it's an end of period and you need to wrap up? Well, now we've come up with a you need to finalize your figures is what I'm trying to say. Well, luckily we now have a report that does that. So if you go into your line item reports, you first need to create the report. So I've already created it, but I've got a line item bill accrual report here. And I've got one bill that's currently sitting in approval that isn't currently being reflected in Xero. So if I were to do my financials in Xero at the moment, this bill's not being captured because it's still on approval. But to be correct in an accounting sense, to record it in an accrual sense, we really should be recording it. So what I can do is I can run this report, then I can create an accrual journal, and I can put the date period, and then you'd allocate the account you want to allocate it to. So accrued liability, you can choose between net and gross. You go create bill accrual, and then you go create, and then that creates the draft journal. So we used to have like a way of doing this, but you had to export out a CSV file and upload it to Xero yourself. So it involved extra steps. But now we're preparing the journal for you. And now it's gone through, and then we late last year we added approvals for manual journals, which you may remember. But if you didn't see that announcement, we now can do approvals for manual journals. So this would go through whatever approval process you've set up for manual journals, and then you go submit. And so that submitted it. And in this case, I'm also the approver. So I'm going to review it and approve it. But I could, let's say Amelia did it. I might ask her a question about it. Have you double checked this? And then go approve. And see that then has prompted me to add Amelia as a watcher. So, and then I go approve. And when it's grayed out like that, it means it hasn't pushed through to Xero yet. Now, with our manual journal approval, you can choose to either send it through to Xero as posted or draft. So that decision is up to you, and it also has the audit report. But I can go open in Xero. And sorry, guys, I've got to put in my two-factor authentication. Okay, so that's gone through to Xero now as a posted journal because I've got it set up to do them as posted. My theory is you're approving it. If you're already going through an approval process, it should be okay to go in as posted. Now I could reverse it in Xero, just do it that way, or we do give you that option in ApprovalMax as well. So I can then reverse this. And then I could just select the date, 1st of May. And then I might just go reverse it. Submit for approval. And then it'll go for approval again, go hit approve. And then it's done. Just give it a second to post to Xero, but then it's done. Okay, so that's those are the big three announcements. So let's move over to some of the smaller ones. So this is a really important improvement that kind of relates to the at and mentioning and so on. So previously, if you wanted to look at all the comments in ApprovalMax, you had to look at it in ApprovalMax. They weren't posting through to Xero and they weren't on the audit report. But now we're going to be it's not quite live yet, but we're going to be posting the comments that you put in ApprovalMax into your Xero or QuickBooks Online. And we're going to post it into your accounting system. So that means when you look at it in Xero, you'll be able to see the audit report, the source document will be attached, and all the comments will be listed there. Plus, you'll have the button to go look at it in ApprovalMax. So that's just going to make having that full context about the transaction really, really quite easy. All right, another big one. Now, some of you might remember last year that we announced our integration with Airwallex to be able to pay bills. And so we've now improved that even further. There's actually been a few updates to it since we released, but the big one, you can now schedule the payment dates. So if you have an Airwallex account, you can pay multi-currency, local currency, and BPay, and now you have the ability to schedule it. And the best part is you can do a full end-to-end payment without leaving ApprovalMax. You just got to put in two-factor authentication. And then there's no dealing with ABA files, or if you're doing multi-currency, actually having to type them in manually into your banking platform. So this is a really great. The Airwallex in general is really, really great, but now the fact we continue to improve the integration makes it even better. So if you're doing a lot of foreign currency, especially, it's well worth having a look at the Airwallex integration. And this is what it'll look like. So it'll come through, it'll list all of the bills that'll be paid, what account it's getting paid out of, the beneficiary. We also have the beneficiary check, so we'll tell you if it's the first time it's getting paid, if the bank details have changed or it's not checked. So that's another important feature. And then you can, but now the ability to schedule. So that's a really big win. All right. So I did see in the comment, someone had a question about the XPM integration. So we're building an integration with the Xero single client list. Now, one of the big pains for both accountants and bookkeepers is that they have multiple products in their tech stack and they have about 20 or 30 staff, and they need to invite those 20 or 30 staff into all of their products. So by integrating with the Xero single client list, you'll be able to manage your staff access to ApprovalMax with that, without needing to manually key in all those staff into ApprovalMax. So it's an important improvement, and it's going to contribute towards you having a single place where you can manage your staff access, because you can add people into Xero HQ, and then that'll sync to ApprovalMax, and then you go on ApprovalMax and then just decide what permissions that individual staff member gets. And this is what it's going to look like. So it's going to sync, and you'll be able to sync all your staff in, and you'll be able to allocate their role, and we've been improving this area of ApprovalMax, that you'll be able to see if individual staff members are certified, and it's going to be an improved experience for our partners. Okay, so we've already got quite a lot of questions, so I'll get to asking those. So the first question was, do you have to approve for a message to appear on the watcher list? No, that would go through straight away. So once you've at somebody and put in the comment, it'll prompt them straight away. So I might have misled you there. It might have said something wrong there, but as long as you hit enter on the comment, the person will get the prompt. Do watchers or approvers have to be users? Yeah, they do need to be approvers of ApprovalMax. They need to be users in ApprovalMax. So you would need to add them as users for that to work. So it's more of an internal tool for your team and between client and accountant, or client and bookkeeper. Okay, so the question, did they miss the XPM integration? No, you asked that question before I got to it. Do invoices automatically go across to Xero once sent? Yeah, absolutely. It all gets pushed through to Xero. Same with the quotes, the whole lot. Yes, we are recording today, so that recording's been done. Does sales invoice work the same way as a quote? Can you email? Yes, it basically works the same way. Sales quote, they work very similar. Is there a feature to confirm supplier bank details to stop fraud? So the way you do that is by having an approval process for adding new contacts. So we don't have a thing that goes and checks their bank account. You'd still need to do that kind of in a manual way, or use one of the services that are around for that. But definitely by having an approval process for adding new contacts, it's going to prevent fraud. And as you saw just before with the Airwallex integration, we'll also flag it if the bank accounts have changed since you last paid that supplier. Can a quote be set reoccurring quarterly? No, it can't, sorry. Can frontline staff create invoices with just user access? Yeah. So if they've got user access and then you add them as a requester in the workflow. So actually I'll jump out of I'll show you what I mean. I'll get out of this screen, and so the way that would work is you'd go to the approval workflow, and you'd go to quotes. Same principle applies to sale, and you'd add in them as requested. So as a general principle, the way it works is if someone's added as a user, they can't see anything unless other than what's been set up in the workflows. So now these users, if they were just standard users, they'd now be able to create quotes, and then they can also see anything they're an approver or watcher for. So basically, if you're a user, what you can see and do is determined by these workflows. Can you show us how to create this item bill accrual report? Okay, yeah. So can it be purchase order? Can it be used for purchase orders as well? Oh, yeah, I'm happy to do that. So let's go in. So you go to reports, line item reports. So I'll discard the changes here. And then you go new report, and then you can go So you could create one for purchase orders as well. And then you go, what you want to have the status be on approval, because what we're trying to do is capture the ones that haven't been pushed to Xero yet. And then you can pick whatever fields you want in here. And then you go next. And then go PO on approval. Create. I might not actually have any that are on a, oh no, I do. I do have one that's on approval. And then it's just clicking this button here. So you can do it for purchase orders as well. Question: will the manual journal get synced automatically to Xero? Yeah, it gets pushed straight away. Once it's fully approved, it gets pushed to Xero immediately. Now with second question, can I amend the journal after approval? Yeah, so you could go into Xero and amend it. I'm just going to double check one thing in here. Okay, posting preference. Okay, so we don't have the fraud detection for the manual journals. Yeah, but you can go in here and these are the approved ones. You could go in and open in Xero. And then you could go option, edit, void, copy, do all of that in here. Okay, can I do accrual-based POs, not bills? But yeah, so we covered that. Okay, there was a question about how I did the transaction around GST. Honestly, ignore any accounting stuff I do. I'm just sort of demoing the product. It doesn't necessarily mean that the accounting side's correct. Um, how the journal, how can the journal be sent as draft? Okay, so we'll go back. So this is a setting in under the so you go approval workflows and you go into the manual journal and you click on the gear, and I've got it set as posted, but you can also change it to draft. Yeah, so the auto reversal, let's can the auto reversal be set by the requester? Look, I don't believe it can. Let's just double check that. I'll click on it. Yeah, so it's not it's not an auto reversal. It's just a button that you can click to do the reversal. It's not doing the auto reversal. Can you limit the account codes that pull through from Xero so you can only pull through expense codes? Yes. So you can do that under the requester matrix. So if we go into approval workflows, and this applies to any of them, but bad example. We'll go into the bills, and this is, you can select what accounts people can select from, and then you go, oh gee, that's a bit of work doing all of that. What you can then do is you can then copy the rule for the user, and you can just tick the column that you want to copy. So just go account, and then you can apply it to a whole bunch of other staff members. Okay, so there's a question, how about the comments after it's pushed through to Xero? Yeah, so that once it's set up, they'll just push through within about a minute or so once they've been entered. If you add additional files to POs, will these be pulled to Xero when the comment function goes live? They already get pulled through to Xero, so you don't need to wait. They already get any files you attach to the purchase order as a bill get pushed through to Xero. So that's currently a feature. Okay. How about purchase orders in XPM? Does it sync? Okay, no, we're not. At the moment, the sync is just with the staff list. But maybe in the future we'll do other things. Are there any updates adding functionality for employee expense claim? No, they're not at the moment. The problem with that is Xero doesn't have a API for Xero expenses. That's why we can't do them. Otherwise we'd probably already have it. Can you have the watcher approve before invoice trying to set up approving user? Can you have a watcher approve the before invoice before the approver? Trying to set okay, so a watcher doesn't approve, but what you can do, if you want to add someone as an approver, like let's say something's coming through and so I've got this one here and I can go in here and I can add another approver just for this single request. And that will allow, so if I need to bring someone else in to approve something that's not normally part of how we've set up our workflow, I can do that on the fly. Does the watcher get notified they added as a watcher? Yeah, so they do get notified. Yes. Will there be a functionality to amend existing Xero contacts coming soon? Not that I'm aware of, but I think that could be something potentially good if it's technically possible to do. I'm not sure it is. Sometimes it comes down to the Xero API. It would be great if there was an approval process for getting confirmation from new contacts of their bank account. Yeah, I agree that these are so having these are things that we could look at in the future, like approving bank accounts and things like that, or even integration with some of the companies that offer those services, like your customer sort of things. Can you get an email to more than one customer? This is a case where a customer needs copy. And yes, yeah, you can add in CC. You can definitely do that. That's not a problem. You can add in multiple email addresses and CC CC the accounts department. If the PO has been approved in ApprovalMax and then there's a corresponding tax invoice published from Dext, do we need to match it? Match it to the approved PO? Yeah, look, generally that's what you do. The way the matching works is that it brings up any POs for that supply. So it doesn't matter how the bill gets into ApprovalMax, and then you can match it. That's if you're doing purchase order matching, that's how you do it. Can you copy an approval workflow from, say, purchase order to a quote? Yes, you can. Yes. So that feature works, pretty much allows you to copy between any of the different workflows. Does ApprovalMax produce a monthly report of the process? So yeah, you can go down and to the reports area and do your request reports. And then you've already got bills approved this month, purchase orders pending approval. You've already got these defaults, but then you can go in and go to the report setup and go to your filters and change the date range and make it however you want it to work. And then if you want to schedule it, you can actually click on this clock here and then email it to whoever you want to get that report. So it's a pretty cool feature. Okay, so there was a question, can I show again how to create manual journal? So I've already done that twice now, so you probably wrote that before I went into it. Can you set up journals to be repeating and reoccurring? No, you can't. I'm sorry. Is the Create Xero accrual feature an additional paid subscription feature? It's in beta at the moment. That's why you can't see it. But that, I believe, if memory serves, it's part of advanced and above, but it's not. As long as you're on the right plan, it's all good. Yeah, I actually need to double check. It may even be in standard. I'm not sure. Okay, so someone here says that they want to send it through to draft, which might be a better option. Yeah, absolutely. So some people might want to do that. My theory is if you've already had multiple people approve it before it goes in a Xero, then you'd probably want it to go to posted. But that it's the reason why we give the choice is because that might not work in every situation. So that's why, depending on how you work, it might be better to post them as draft. What about attachments to bills? Do these get pushed through to Xero? Yes, they do. Yes. So all your attachments gets pushed through to Xero. Yeah, so you can even go, like, say you're using HubDoc, you can go in HubDoc, pulls it into Xero, then into ApprovalMax, and then it'll get pushed in a Xero with an audit report and the source document attached. So it's actually a two-way flow. So if you've got documents attached in Xero, they'll be sent to ApprovalMax, and if you've got documents attached in ApprovalMax, they'll be sent to Xero. Okay. Is there a plan for budget check prior to doing a PO? So the budget checking already works with purchase orders. So if you've imported your budget, um, you can check against your budget when you're approving it. Now, you can't create rules based on the budget. So but an approver can look at how they're going against the budget when they're approving. So there is a recording from today. So there was another question. Is there a way to send purchase directly to some suppliers and not others? Yes, there is. So let me show you something. So we go into the purchase order workflow, and then we click on the gear. And then this bit here, email to the supplier. So I've got it enabled. So what that means is that on any purchase order, the requester can choose to send it to the supplier or not, but it's not turned on by default. Enabled and checked means it's turned on by default. They can uncheck it manually if they want to anyway, but by default, they'll be sent out to the supplier. And disabled means that we don't offer that it's not there. They don't have the option to send it to it. So if it were disabled, you could still send the purchase order to the supplier. You just, once it's approved, click on open in Xero and then send it out as Xero. So you could do it that way. But that's if you really want to lock it down. But I think in most cases, the best option is to leave the enabled turned on. And then you've also got the option to default CC it as well. So if you want to CC those purchase orders into some other system, you can do that as well. Okay, so can an approver change the account on a PO prior to approval now? Unfortunately not. That review functionality is still only in bills, at this stage. Attachment to suppliers have been renamed. Okay, for one attachment, then renamed just on, will this be sorry, I'm not quite following that question. Okay, can the user can the user creating the purchase order check against the budget? Only the approver can do that. You only get that once you're approving it. But actually, that should pop up. That should pop up. Once you've sent it, then you can look at it, and then it should show the budget figures then. Okay, so then there was a question. I don't see create manual journal from the line item report. That's because the feature's in beta. If you want to turn it on, you can put in a support request to do that. Or you could just wait for it to come out of beta. Okay, so that's all the questions. So we got through all of those. So there was 49 questions. So that's all the questions we have. There's one more. If you upload a document named test and you want this to go to the supply, you also have to upload the same document with a different name, test one. So I'm still not following you on that one. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much so there's quite a bit in such a short amount of time since last year. So I'm hoping that people that you're all excited about those features. Personally, my favorite is the mentioning. I feel like that was sort of something that was lacking, and now it really makes ApprovalMax a really good communication tool, in addition to all the other things that it does. So I really feel it eliminates the need to do things in email or in Teams or in Slack or any of that. So we really want to be documenting everything about approvals in a single source of truth. And so there's a lot of value that came out of those today. Okay. All right. So thanks. That's some people. So do we have a community? Yeah, we don't have a Facebook page or anything like that, but perhaps that's something we should consider. It's a really good suggestion, Anonymous. It's and then yeah. So yeah, sorry, Sue, I wasn't able to answer that question. Maybe send through a support question and then just mention my name in there, and maybe we can follow it up with you. All right. Great, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for your attention. Really appreciate it. Bye.